I retired 3 weeks before I moved into Rainbow Point at Sonara. The morning I moved into Rainbow Point, I unlocked the front door, carried in the last box, and stood in the middle of the living room. It was quiet, the good kind, not the lonely kind. I opened the blinds and looked out at the walking path behind my cottage. "I think we're going to like it here," I said. Old habit. I still talk to my wife sometimes, because after 24 years together, I could still hear her voice talking to me. For a moment, the cottage didn't feel so quiet. The feeling stayed with me longer than I expected. 3 days later, I remembered the flyer tucked inside my welcome packet. Community dinner, Wednesdays and Saturdays at 6. I almost stayed home. Instead, I walked to the clubhouse. Community dinner turned out to be exactly what you'd expect if you invited 80 retirees to eat together. Nobody seemed to be in a hurry. People moved from table to table, stopping to talk as if dinner were only part of the reason they had come. I was halfway through my chicken parmesan when someone across the room called out, "Joe!" I looked up. A blonde woman near the far side of the room stood and waved toward the person who had called her. Before she finished talking to them, someone else called her over. "Joe, come settle this." She laughed. "I don't even know what I'm settling." "You'll figure it out." I think she did. Or at least she convinced everyone she had. A few minutes later, Joe stopped beside a table close to mine. Then she glanced my way and caught my eye. She went still. "Joe?" the woman beside her said. "Sorry," she said. "What were you saying?" Joe didn't look away from me. Then she smiled. Not the easy smile she had been giving everyone else. Smaller, softer. I smiled back. Her smile widened just a little. Someone called her name again. She looked toward the voice. "I'm coming." A little later, I caught her looking at me a second time. She took a few steps toward my table before someone stopped her to ask a question. By dessert, a woman carried her plate over and sat across from me. "I'm Linda," she said. "We haven't officially met." "Claire." She nodded toward the far side of the dining room. "Have you met Joe yet?" I followed her gaze. "The woman everybody keeps borrowing?" Linda laughed. "That's one way to describe her." "Not yet, but she seems popular." "That's Joe for you. She's been here almost 7 years." I looked across the room. Joe was laughing with 2 women near the coffee station. Then, for just a second, she looked at me again. Interesting. By the end of my first month, Wednesday and Saturday dinners had become part of my routine. So had morning walks around the pond. So had coffee on the porch. Life settled into a rhythm. Apparently, retirement suited me. One Thursday morning, I was halfway around the pond when Joe came jogging toward me from the opposite direction. As she reached me, she slowed to a walk. "You just moved in?" I stopped. She stopped too. Her blonde hair, streaked with silver, was pulled into a ponytail. She had a lean, athletic build and wore a gray t-shirt with black athletic shorts. Her eyes were blue, bright and expressive, and the smile I'd noticed at dinner looked even warmer up close. "Almost a month ago." "Still pretty new," she smiled. She held out her hand. "I'm Joe. Joe Bennett." I shook it. "Claire Morgan. It's nice to officially meet you." I was beginning to wonder if we would ever. Joe smiled. I tried. "I know." She pointed toward the pond. "Beautiful morning?" "It is. I'd better keep moving." "You jog every morning?" "I attempt to." "What does that mean?" She grinned. "I jog for 2 minutes, then think about jogging for another 8. I laughed. She gave me a little wave. "See you around, Claire." After that, Joe kept appearing. At the mailboxes, on the walking path, at community dinner, where she began sitting across from me without asking. One morning, She stood beside the mailboxes holding a stack of envelopes. "Anything good?" she asked. "Property tax notice?" "That's unfortunate. I also have a grocery coupon." Her face brightened. "There we go. Life takes $1, then gives back 40 cents. I smiled and tucked the coupon behind the tax notice. Another evening, Cheryl announced that she had won bingo for the 4th week in a row. Joe leaned closer. "I don't trust her." "Why?" "Nobody has that much luck without paperwork." I looked at Cheryl, who was waving a $20 gift card. "Have you considered that she might just be good at bingo? I taught high school for 32 years. I recognize suspicious behavior." I laughed hard enough that Linda looked over from the next table. Joe's smile always widened when she made me laugh. People told her things, not because she asked. They simply did. She never rushed anyone. Sometimes she offered advice. Sometimes she only said, "That sounds hard." Then, when the moment had passed, she found a way to make the person smile. Over the next few months, Joe became part of my routine. If she wasn't at dinner, I noticed. If I reached the pond and saw her ponytail ahead of me, I walked a little faster to catch up with her. It had all become part of my routine. After one of our Saturday community dinners, Joe walked me home. As we walked up to my cottage, she reached for my elbow as we stepped onto the front step. Her hand stayed there a second longer than it needed to. At my door, she stopped. Then she slipped her hands into her pockets. "I was wondering," she looked toward the clubhouse, then back at me, "would you like to have dinner with me, Claire?" I looked at her. "We just had dinner." I meant somewhere that doesn't serve mashed potatoes with an ice cream scoop. "Oh. Friday night, there's a small Italian place in town." It was the first time I had seen Joe look uncertain. "Joe," her smile softened. "I like you," I said. "I enjoy spending time with you, as a friend." Joe's smile changed, just slightly. "I see. And I'm not looking for a relationship." She looked down at the path for a moment, then back at me. She didn't argue. She only waited. "I had a good life with my wife," I said. "Angie and I were together for 24 years. Joe nodded. "She died 10 years ago." I had said those words many times. They never became ordinary. For the first few months, I still set out 2 coffee cups in the morning. My voice caught, and I looked toward my cottage. Sometimes something happens, and my first instinct is still to tell her about it. Joe said nothing. That made it easier to continue. I learned how to live without her. I built a good life. But some part of me still feels married. Joe's expression softened. "I understand." "Do you?" "Enough to know I'm not asking you to love her less." The simple way she said it tightened something in my chest. At this age, I don't know if I want to start anything again. "All right." I waited. "That's it? What were you expecting?" "I don't know." She smiled. "I'm asking you to dinner, Claire, not for a joint checking account." "I'm a retired CPA. Joint checking accounts are serious." "Exactly. I wouldn't bring that up before dessert." I looked down, still smiling. "I'm not asking you to rearrange your life for me," she said. "I like being around you, Claire. I'd like to get to know you better. That's all." When I looked at her again, she was still waiting. No pressure, no argument, just Joe. "Friday?" I asked. Her crooked smile returned. "Friday." Dinner lasted almost 3 hours. Joe wore a gray button-down shirt and dark straight-leg jeans. "You look nice," I said. That's a relief. I was one shirt away from canceling. A laugh slipped out. We talked about work, retirement, books, and the strange feeling of waking up without somewhere we were required to be. We also discovered we were both 64, which Joe called young enough to make questionable decisions and old enough to get away with them. Joe had taught high school English for 32 years. She had never married, but she had loved before. "Do you regret any of them?" I asked. "No, not even the bad ones that still give me nightmares once in a while." "Why not?" Joe thought about it. "Because I was happy at some point. I don't want to erase that just because it ended badly." By the end of the night, my cheeks hurt from laughing. When she walked me to my door, neither of us seemed in a hurry to say goodnight. After she left, I stood there for a moment longer than necessary. It had been a very nice evening. The following Wednesday, Linda stood at the front of the dining room and tapped a spoon against her glass until everyone quieted. "We're doing something new in 6 weeks," she announced. "Rainbow Point is hosting its first senior prom." The room erupted. 2 men near the front began arguing about whether they still owned tuxedos. The women behind us immediately started discussing shoes. Someone asked if there would be an open bar. Linda raised both hands. "This is for anyone who missed their prom, never got the prom they wanted, or simply wants another chance to dress up and dance." Beside me, Joe's hand went still around her glass. For a moment, her expression went distant. A clipboard started moving around the tables. Joe checked decorations, music, and setup. 3 committees? I panicked. She offered me the pen. "No. You don't even know what I was going to ask." "I know you enough." I passed the clipboard back to Linda. 2 days later, I found Joe and Linda hanging silver stars in the clubhouse. "It's crooked," Joe said. "It's festive," Linda answered. Linda looked at me. "Tell us if this is straight." I should have kept walking. Instead, I studied the stars. The right side is about 3 inches lower. 10 minutes later, I was on the ladder. When we finished, Linda smiled. "I'll add you to decorations." "I didn't volunteer." "You're on a ladder." Apparently that counted. Over the next few weeks, prom planning became part of my routine too. Joe and I chose tablecloths, compared playlists, and walked home together after meetings. Sometimes we stopped at her cottage for coffee. Sometimes she came to mine. Somewhere along the way, she stopped asking whether I wanted coffee. She simply made 2 cups. I stopped wondering whether she would walk me home. She always did. One Wednesday evening, I skipped dinner because I wasn't feeling well. A few minutes after 6, Joe texted, "Where are you?" I texted back that I was home and feeling a little dizzy. Another text from Joe came almost immediately. "Have you eaten?" I texted back and told her I hadn't. 10 minutes later, she was at my door with soup and crackers. "You didn't have to come," I said. "I wanted to." She warmed the soup, sat with me while I ate, and stayed until I felt better. She didn't fuss. She just stayed. She gathered the empty bowl and carried it to the kitchen. When she came back, she settled into the chair across from me. "Are you feeling any better?" she asked. "A little." She studied me for a moment. "Good. I should let you rest." She walked to the door, then she stopped. She turned around. "No, never mind." "What?" She looked at me for a long second. "Nothing." She reached for the doorknob again, stopped, took a breath. "Actually, Joe, would you go to the prom with me?" For a moment, I just stared at her. Then I smiled. "I'd love to." Joe smiled back. It was the first time all evening she looked completely at ease. After she left, the cottage felt quiet again, but not in the same way. For the first time in years, someone had noticed I was missing before I had to say a word. By the week of the prom, I had started waking up and wondering if I would see her. I looked forward to dinner, to planning meetings, to hearing her laugh. The quiet life I had built was still there. Joe had simply made it brighter. The night of the prom, we agreed to meet in front of the clubhouse. I arrived first. Music drifted through the open doors as residents crossed the walkway in suits, dresses, and polished shoes. A gray-haired man adjusted the boutonniere on his husband's jacket. Two women stopped near the entrance to take a picture and laughed because neither one could figure out how to do a selfie. For a moment, I forgot to feel nervous. Then Joe came around the corner. Something fluttered in my stomach. Butterflies. I couldn't remember the last time I had felt them. Her hair fell loose around her shoulders. She wore a midnight blue suit, a white shirt open at the collar, brown shoes, and small diamond studs. She stopped when she saw me. Neither of us spoke. For one brief second, I understood what 17 was supposed to feel like. Waiting outside a dance, seeing the person you liked, knowing she had come for you. Joe's eyes moved over my emerald green dress, then back to my face. "You look beautiful," she said quietly. "Thank you." I looked at her again. "You clean up well too, Joe." Her smile widened. "You look like you belong on the cover of a retirement brochure." "For Rainbow Point?" "Yes, the expensive version." I laughed. We stayed outside while everyone else went in. Music drifted through the open doors. Joe watched two women walk past us, holding hands. "You know, I didn't go to my prom," she said. "Why not?" There was a girl. She looked down at her hands. "We had been together almost a year, but nobody knew. Two girls just didn't go to prom together in our town. Not back in 1979, so she went with a boy." I waited. And I stayed home. Her voice remained steady. I told myself it didn't matter. But it did. She looked at me. It hurt more than I ever admitted. I reached out and held her hand. "I went to mine," I said. "With a boy?" "My parents asked me to. He was nice." "But you wanted someone else?" I nodded. "Did anyone know about the two of you?" "No. Not even my friends." My throat tightened. I spent the whole night looking at the door. Joe turned toward me. "You thought she might come." "I knew she wouldn't, but every time someone walked in, I hoped it was her anyway." Joe didn't say anything. After graduation, we slowly stopped talking. We never broke up. We never said goodbye. We just let the silence do it for us. For a moment, neither of us spoke. "We really missed it," I said. "Maybe not." I reached for her other hand. "Let's have one of the best nights of our lives." Joe's eyes shone as she squeezed my fingers. "Oh, yes. Let's go." The clubhouse was fuller than I expected. Men danced with husbands. Women laughed with wives or girlfriends. A man in a red jacket spun his husband so quickly they nearly collided with two women beside them. No one lowered their voice. No one had to pretend. Joe and I talked, laughed, and watched everyone else dance. A slow song played, then another. Joe didn't ask me to dance. I wondered if she would. During the next song, she stopped talking. She glanced at the dance floor, then at me, then away. Joe Bennett was nervous. I had never seen that before. A few minutes later, the opening notes of a familiar, slow song filled the room. Joe stood and held out her hand. "Claire Morgan," she said. "May I have this dance?" "You may." Her hand was warm as she led me onto the dance floor. When we found a place among the other couples, her hand settled at my waist. Mine rested on her shoulder. Her steps weren't especially graceful, and neither were mine, and it didn't matter in the slightest. "You were waiting for something," I whispered. "I was waiting for the right song. I want to remember this night for a long time." For a while, we only moved with the music. The last time I had danced with someone I loved, Angie and I had been barefoot in our kitchen. Dinner had been simmering on the stove. She had taken my hand for no reason except that a song we liked had come on the radio. I had stepped on her foot. She had laughed and pulled me closer. At the time, it had felt like an ordinary night. I had learned later that ordinary moments were the ones grief held on to the longest. Joe's hand was warm against my waist. She looked at me and didn't look away. Neither did I. For 10 years, love had belonged to the life I had already lived. Some part of me still felt married. And for one frightened second, I wondered whether loving Joe meant I was finally leaving my wife behind. I wished Angie was there, not to ask permission, just to hear her tell me I was allowed to be happy again. I closed my eyes. And for one brief moment, I thought I heard her voice the way I still sometimes did. "Be happy, Claire." My throat tightened. When I opened my eyes, Joe was watching me. And in her eyes, I saw a future I had been too afraid to imagine. Joe's fingers moved gently against my back. I held her gaze and let the words come. "I think I'm falling in love with you." Joe went still. Her eyes shimmered with tears. "Claire, I think I've been in love with you for a while now." My eyes filled. Joe held me a little closer. "I've loved women before," she said softly, "but I've never looked at anyone and seen my future the way I see it with you." She rested her forehead against mine. "Whatever years we have left, Claire, I want to spend them with you." We continued moving slowly with the music. I held her gaze, letting her words settle between us. "I had a beautiful life with Angie," I said, "and after she was gone, I found a way to be content with the life I still had." My voice softened. "I wasn't looking for anyone." Joe didn't look away. "Then you came into my life, and somehow ordinary days felt a little brighter." For a moment, neither of us spoke. But sometimes I'm afraid that loving you means I'm leaving Angie behind. Joe pressed her cheek against mine. Then she whispered, "You don't have to leave Angie behind to make room for me. Your heart is big enough for both of us." For a moment, I thought about Angie, not with guilt, with gratitude. She had given me 24 beautiful years. Joe was asking for whatever years we still had left. They were never the same love. They never had to be. I held her closer. We kept dancing. We weren't 17 anymore. And we didn't need to be. Right here, right now, this dance belonged to us.